Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning to those of us on the West Coast. I want to welcome you all to this presentation on enabling remote workforce on Horizon on VMware Cloud and AWS. My name is Peter Hunter. I'm Architect Manager for British Columbia at CDW. CDW and VMware have a long track record of working in close partnership, and this session is another example of that. I want to thank the VMware team for presenting to us today on this very interesting and really relevant topic in the area of the era of COVID-19. I want to let you all know that there will be time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation. I just want to ask that if you have any questions to post them in the WebEx chat, and we'll be sure to answer them at the end. So if we move to the next slide. Just want to provide a few minutes here just to give you a brief introduction to CDW. Many of you are already customers of CDW, but many of you will know that CDW acquired Scalar Decisions in 2019. And as a result, CDW is now the leading IT solution provider in Canada, with 900 employees, including 290 plus field technology specialists, and we're able to assist our customers with their technology and integration requirements. Next slide here. Just a few comments about the evolution of CDW and CDW Canada. CDW was founded in 1984 when our founder, Michael Krasny, posted a single ad in the Chicago Tribune to sell a personal computer. It's pretty crazy, and the CDW has now grown into an $18 billion a year annual revenue company, and evidently there's been a solid track record of growth from that single PC sale. We've grown organically and through mergers and acquisitions. We mentioned the Scalar acquisition already. We previously had expanded into the UK market through the acquisition of a company called Kelway. Very similar company to Scalar, a solutions and services-led organization. And we've recently made an acquisition of a company called Aptris, which is a ServiceNow partner. You can move to the next slide. This slide talks a bit about our global reach. So CDW is now number 178 on the Fortune 500 list with over, as I said, 18 billion in annual revenue, 250,000 customers globally, with about 10,500 coworkers internationally. This is kind of a bit of a brag slide, but I really don't think the point here is about how big we are. Our success has come from consistently exceeding our customers' expectations and providing value while becoming a one-stop shop for all IT needs. You can go to the next slide. Just focusing a bit on what we look like in Canada. With the Scalar acquisition, we now have a local presence in most major markets across Canada. And like I said, we have just shy of 300 IT field specialists to help with any integration solutions. About 1.2 billion in annual revenue and growing. So with that, I'd like to hand this off to Scott March from VMware. Scott is an end user computer partner SC. He covers the US and Canada at VMware. And like I said previously, Scott's here to talk to us about a very relevant topic of enabling remote workforce on Horizon on VMware Cloud and AWS. And I'll let Scott go into more detail about himself. With that, over to you, Scott.
Thanks, Peter. Hey, everybody. Again, Scott March. I've been at VMware for way too long, actually, 5 years, specializing in ADC computing. Before that, 18 years of operations. So where are we going to start? So basically, we're going to be talking today about what COVID's really changed with Horizon Cloud and AWS, and where it fits in VMware stack and why it's a great solution. And here are a few things that you want to keep in mind, right? So this really caught us off guard. So we usually work in the office and work remote, but all of a sudden now everybody's working remote, and companies need to adjust to that. I'm sure you probably heard that 1,000 times in the last 2 months. I'm not the first person to tell you that, but how do you do it with avoiding disruption? We have people with Horizon on-prem. That's great. I actually had a customer ask me to extend their Horizon on-prem environment by 300 people. The first question I asked them is, well, do you have the hardware to do that? And again, they were going 1,000 miles an hour and really didn't think about that. So we had to think of other options, and that's where the cloud fit in their case, and it made a lot of sense, right? Being able to have that continuity with your workers. And the last thing is security has got to be top of mind on everything. Every decision we make, we want to make sure that we're not compromising security to get the job done, right? So these are some of the things that we want to think about when we're doing this kind of stuff. So especially now, but even before COVID, customers are embracing hybrid cloud, right? So how do we enable our environment to, expand and even shrink in some cases with our business? Things change all the time, and that's really where hybrid cloud shines. On-prem, you're making a commitment for 3 to 5 years. Hybrid cloud, you have that cloud economics where you're literally making that decision when you need it. And we're seeing more and more customers go to that side of the fence just because it makes sense. Before it was always, how do I make it perform as good? Is it as secure? Really, all of that stuff kind of went away. Right now, from a performance perspective and security perspective, it's just as good, or if not better, in some respects. And again, you can actually make it so it's a seamless experience for what you have on-prem, what's in the cloud from a user perspective. Honestly, if it's done right, they should know the difference. And that's the key thing here. And we're starting to see that more and more. And take a look at some of this stuff here, and this is architecture. But at the end of the day, yeah, some folks are going 100% into the cloud, but most of the percentage we're seeing, people still have some kind of environment on-prem, and we think that's going to be that way for at least the near term, if not for quite a long time. We're the ability here. If you want to go multi-cloud, fine. If you want to go cloud hosted, that's okay too. We can do all of that and then some. But again, today we're going to be focusing on this hybrid cloud story because honestly, from what we just experienced and what we're seeing, that's really what we're seeing the most out in the field. So where is VMware positioned in this big, conversation here as far as end user computing? Well, we're in the top right. That's always a happy thing. But in the top right, actually, for a long time, that's something that some people are surprised about. We've actually been doing this for a very long time. And as far as being that leader, we've been up here for for over 3 years now. We've always been in this space here. So definitely proud of that. Something that we're looking forward to adding that innovation, staying there for a long time. So again, definitely happy there. So let's talk a little bit about why we think Horizon Cloud on AWS makes sense. The first thing is operational consistency. And what I mean by that is, yeah, you can go into the cloud, but from an administrative burden perspective, it has to be simple, right? And we don't want to change or give your administrators a completely different tool set. They have to learn different processes. We want to, again, make that as easy as we can. And the one key thing to understand with Horizon Horizon Cloud and AWS, it's actually Horizon 7 installed on our VMware Cloud and AWS platform. So it's the same exact platform that they're used to on-prem. Well, there are some minor changes and differences, but if your customer or if your administrative team understands Horizon, they're going to understand Horizon on VMware Cloud and AWS, right? So that existing skill set is going to fit with what they need. Very straightforward, very easy. Again, one solution, doesn't matter whether it's in the cloud or on-prem. And we're going to talk about that going forward, where actually it's a seamless solution from the user perspective and also from an administrative perspective as well. Control, manage, and secure from a single pane of glass. It is enterprise class. You can start with, as little as 50 users, 20 users, 50 users. You can scale. We have, we'll talk forward. We have a user that was set up with 39,000 users literally in 5 days. So that gives you an idea of the growth and the capabilities of the system. And the other key thing here to mention on that, get a little ahead of myself, is it's fantastic for bursting capabilities. So COVID aside, if you're a retail customer per se, or say tax, you do taxes for a living, you get busy, if you're retail, you get busy near Christmas. If you're taxes, you get busy near tax time. Well, you're going to have to expand that footprint during those times. But when that is all said and done and over, you can actually, again, shrink that and make sure that you have that cloud economics and you're only paying what you need when you need it. So very important. And then last but not least, compatibility with apps, right? It's a seamless experience. It's what you're used to on-prem from an application perspective, if it works on Windows 10 or works on an RDS server, it's going to work here as well. So again, just very simple and straightforward from an administrative perspective. And from a licensing perspective, same thing, right? So Horizon Universal Licensing, one license fits all, right? So you can buy a universal license. You can leverage that on-prem for Horizon 7. You can leverage it in Horizon Cloud and AWS, Horizon Cloud and Azure, Horizon Cloud and IBM, and soon Horizon Cloud or Horizon 7 on Google, Horizon 7 on Oracle. And the list keeps growing and growing. So single license, a couple different ways to actually consume it. You can either actually do it by named user or concurrent user. But again, very simple and straightforward model. So you buy that license once, whether you use it on-prem or in the cloud, doesn't matter. We don't care. So again, very simple licensing model. So what's included in that licensing model? We have various different components within the Horizon stack, and these are very important to understand. And we're going to start in the left-hand corner with App Volumes. Now, App Volumes is our application delivery system. We can actually deliver an application to up to 2,000 users per application to literally any desktop you have in your platform. Again, going forward, once we allow this in the cloud plane, you're going to be able to actually build the same application stack, actually package it once, and be able to leverage that either with Horizon 7 on-prem or say Horizon 7 on VMC and AWS, or if you're using Azure, you can use that as well. But again, simplifying the application packaging and delivery of your environment. Dynamic Environment Manager on the right-hand side is our profile piece. This is where all your user settings and application settings are stored. Very exciting. Gives you the capability to literally grab that, what we call instant clone desktop, which is created when the user logs in and destroyed when the user leaves. The settings will actually follow that user no matter what virtual machine they actually log into. So again, very exciting, and that's something that's available today with that universal licensing. Cloud monitoring, single pane of glass monitoring for your entire end user computing experience. Again, whether that's on-prem or in the cloud, the ability to go to one place, see what your capacity is, see what your issues are, and mitigate those issues quickly. And also with universal brokering, one place to connect to all those systems. So the user can actually connect to one virtual IP, whatever with a fully qualified name. In my case, it's horizon.eucguru.com, and it's going to literally point them to whatever environment they're entitled to. And that might be Horizon 7 on-prem, it might be Horizon 7 on VMware Cloud and AWS, it might even be Horizon Cloud on Azure. They will be directed automatically, and it's not requiring any global load balancing that's actually built into the platform. This is actually in tech preview today with some limited functionality for the platform. We're looking at going GA very, very soon. So definitely keep an eye out for that. So it's pretty exciting. So with all this said and done, there's various different ways to consume our product. So all of these here are Horizon. They're just different ways to actually consume it depending on what you actually have from an infrastructure perspective. So if you actually do have an on-prem environment, that's fantastic. You can use Horizon 7. In that case, you're going to be managing the hardware. SDDC is basically just vSphere and vCenter. So you're going to be managing the entire stack here. So all the way from the hardware, vSphere and vCenter, the Horizon platform itself, which is Horizon 7 in this case, and then your desktops and apps. Now, this is great as long as you have hardware on the ground, on-prem. But for those that want to actually go into the cloud or have that experience, you can start with VMware Cloud and AWS. This is where we manage the hardware and vSphere and vCenter. So we're using bare metal hardware sitting in the AWS data centers. With vCenter and vSphere. All you need to manage at that point is the Horizon 7 environment and your desktops and apps. And then going further over, IBM, this is a fully managed platform that we actually can offer you as well, where all you need to do is manage the desktops and apps. And then we have the last one here, which is Horizon Cloud on Azure, which is bring your own infrastructure. So you're going to have the Azure environment that you actually own. You're going to bring that in. We go ahead and install the Horizon platform. And at that point, all the customers actually managing as the desktops and apps. So again, different ways to consume Horizon, different levels of administrative burden, depending on what makes sense for you. But the key thing is all of these can be managed in a single pane of glass through our cloud control plane. So from an end user or from an administrative perspective, after the initial build, it's all the same from a build perspective on how you would actually offer that desktop and be able to entitle it to a user and have the user actually connect to it. So here's some things with Horizon 7 on VMware Cloud and AWS and why it's so exciting. So rapid provisioning, and I'm going to show this to you. We can actually get up and running in literally hours from a basic hardware and vSphere and vCenter perspective on Horizon Cloud and AWS. Very, very quick. So the idea here is you can be up and running quickly. You can scale out hosts literally in minutes. So if you actually do have an option where you need to be able to burst out, it takes about 12 minutes for a host to actually go online. And this can actually be done automatic. So you have what we call elastic DRS. It'll actually see that you're hitting constraints from a capacity perspective, and it'll automatically add that capacity for you, which is pretty exciting stuff. So Cloud Pod architecture, the ability to literally seamlessly connect on-prem and Horizon 7 for VMware Cloud and AWS. Those environments will actually, from an entitlement perspective, allow you to entitle users to use both environments in a seamless way. And then the last one here, which we talked a little bit about already, was that elastic, our enterprise-grade elastic cloud infrastructure. So again, being able to build it and shrink it when you need it, right? And only be able to pay for what you need when you need it, which is the important part. So again, pretty exciting. So this is the model I talked about. Oop, I actually misstepped. It's not 39,000, it's 35. So we just added an extra 4,000 users there in 5 days. I apologize for that. But this is literally an insurance company that we brought online. Now, don't let the actual capacity here scare you. Whether you're setting up 20 users or 35,000 users, it's basically, from an administrative perspective, very similar as far as effort. The key thing here is you do need to understand this ahead of time and where you're going to go, but this environment scales and shrinks to whatever environment you have. So if you're one of those large insurance companies or a mom and pop, you know, I don't know, retail customer, it really doesn't matter. There's a good fit here, and it actually grow for you when you need it. And again, give you the ability to do that with whatever scale you have. So it's a great solution because you can actually adjust to what your requirements are. You're not looking at buying hardware for 3 to 5 years. You're buying it what you need now. And again, that's important to understand. So here we go. So use cases here. So what are the reasons would you actually want to leverage Horizon, you know, on VMware Cloud and AWS? One of them is app locality. So this is actually kind of a fun one. So if you actually have an office in New York and you want to open an office, let's just say in London, and for 20 people, last thing you're going to do is build a data center for 20 people. So I can literally go ahead and go to VMware Cloud and AWS, and I can build a data center in London in a matter of hours. And I can scale it where I need it. And again, I only pay for it for what I need. And if I need to add another data center somewhere else in the world, I can do that. And that's very important because you want, again, and so especially with end user computing, you want to have your desktops close to your applications and the people that are logging into them. So this gives you the ability to do that in a quick and easy way. Temporary desktop and app capacity, we already talked about. The ability to burst capacity demands when needed. And the last one here is POC for on-prem deployments. So you can actually start with one node and pay for that, again, for a month or whatever you need, and be able to actually quickly set it up, kick the tires, decide whether it makes sense for you, and then shut it down if you don't need it or don't want it, or if you want to purchase it, you can go ahead and do so as well. But again, it's an easy model and an easy way to figure out whether or not Horizon, 7 on VMware Cloud and AWS is a good fit for you. So again, an easy way to start, and actually without having to buy an entire environment on-prem. So a little bit more here. So again, seamless hybridity, the ability to connect on-prem and on the, in that cloud environment in a seamless way. Enterprise-grade environment and familiar tools. So this is a summary slide, really quick and simple. So let's talk a little bit about the Horizon control plane. So this is the exciting part. So the Horizon control plane allows you to connect all these various environments that we've just talked about, again, in that seamless single pane of glass. So you would log into the control plane, and here are all the fun things that you can do. So starting from left to right, image management. So be able to build one golden image that actually works in all these various different environments. So you can build one golden image for, say, again, on-prem Horizon 7. That same image can be used for Horizon 7 on VMware Cloud and AWS. It can be used for Horizon Cloud on Azure, or all of the other flavors that we're bringing online. But again, it gives you the ability to do it in a very simple and easy way once, right? Desktop and app management, being able to build those pools in a single place, being able to understand what your capacity looks like from those users' perspective. And if I need to move capacity, be able to burst into the cloud in a simple way, but also get that visibility to understand, what it's going to look like from my perspective. Does it make sense to do that? Where do I want to move that workload? Where do I need to build it to get the most advantage out of that? Automated install. Again, we give you the capability to build out those cloud environments quickly. Service updates, monitoring analytics, which we just talked about a little bit. You want to monitor that in one place. And universal brokering, which I think is probably the most exciting. So that allows your user to connect to one place to get to their desktop. So you might have an environment on-prem, you might have one in AWS. The user's home virtual machine or virtual desktop is actually sitting on-prem. But if on-prem isn't available, it's going to automatically redirect them to the AWS environment. You're going to be able to connect to Horizon 7 on VMware Cloud and AWS for that user, either partially through CloudPod, but also through universal brokering. So normally we'd have to actually use global load balancing and all kinds of technical stuff, but we removed all that complexity to make it very simple for you. So again, if I had to pick one thing that's going to be super exciting, it's this right here. That single pane of glass to manage all the stuff we just talked about, but also from a end user perspective, giving them one place to connect to, no matter how many environments you have or where they're located. So how do we do that with Horizon on VMware Cloud and AWS? Very simple. We add a Horizon Cloud connector to the environment. We add one for on-prem and we add one for here. It allows you to log directly in here to get to these services and be able to actually leverage that cloud plane. Very simple and easy to administer and to maintain. We handle all the updates to the actual Horizon Cloud connector once it's in play. Again, it takes literally a matter of minutes to install, and the environment can be up and running in a day or two, depending on what you're doing. So, and this gives you some of the wonderful things here that we just talked about already. Excuse me. So from an architecture perspective, if you're familiar with Horizon 7, you're probably familiar with the reference architecture for on-prem. There are some differences with Horizon 7 when it's sitting in VMware Cloud and AWS. And the biggest one is that the pool of pods literally have one vCenter. So we're talking about one vCenter here, and all of various different components, including the management resources and also the user resources, which are your actual desktops and published apps, are sitting in that same vCenter infrastructure. So the difference there is normally we would typically isolate from a capacity perspective your management from your user resources. When you're talking about VMware Cloud and AWS, what we're going to do is we're actually going to set up resource pools to actually create that capacity boundary within the environment itself. A little bit different again way of doing things, but very, very simple in that respect. The other thing you're going to end up doing, which is a little bit different than on-prem, is you're going to have firewall components that you're actually going to have to set up and enable. So when you initially get the environment, there is a little bit of work to do. The wonderful thing is a CDW is a fantastic partner to use. They have skills on how to do this. They've done this many, many times. But there definitely is some pre-work that is involved to get there. I'm not going to pretend that it's exactly the same as on-prem. But once you get past that, the installation is identical. So just keep this in mind that there are some things that are definitely going to be a little bit different than what you're used to probably on-prem. Here are some of the other things that definitely are worth talking about. So again, single SDDC, we already talked about, and the fact that it only has a single vCenter. You are limited to around 2,000 VMs per SDDC, okay, or software-defined data center. And the reason being, there's actually, it says right here, exacerbated by Horizon east-west traffic hairpin issue. There's actually a one of the gateways that literally everything hairpins through. So that is absolutely fine up to about 2,000 users. We know that. We can handle that in a number of different ways. We can connect multiple SDDCs to our cloud plane, which allows you to set up as many users as you want. What we can also do is we can actually do what we call a federated install. And what that does is we literally move the connection broker parts into EC2, and we use VMware Cloud and AWS literally as our resource domains for your resource pods for your desktops and your RDS servers. With this option, the hairpinning issue doesn't exist. You can literally scale to unlimited size, more or less. We're talking about over 100,000 desktops if you decided to do so. If you do, VMware will definitely appreciate it. But again, key thing is between the two environments, and I want to make that really, really clear. Something here, I mean, you can start with, again, 20, 50, 100 users, go up to 2,000, or you can go higher with that if you do multiple pods. And if you decide to go, if you're one of those super users that need, the tens of thousands of desktops, this is your answer for you. And that's an architectural decision you're going to make when you initially do this. But I want to be very, very clear that we do support both. And this gives you some of the things here. So alternate, again, scales up to 10,000 sessions per Horizon pod. You can use multiple Horizon pods to go as high as you need to. This definitely requires some discussions with VMware when you're going to do it. So make sure that you definitely have those discussions. So what does the architecture look like? Normally, this is some of the cool stuff that you're going to see. So for those that don't know what VMware Cloud and AWS actually looks like, it's literally all the flavors of VMware that we all know and love, vSphere, vSAN, and NSX, sitting on bare metal hardware in AWS. We call this the SDDC, or Software Defined Data Center, also known as Cloud Foundation. We install Horizon on top of this. The same components are used to on-prem, nothing special there. When we have an on-prem environment and AWS environment running, we can actually leverage cloud pod architecture to connect those two environments together to give you seamless entitlements in very easy ways. So this gives you the true hybrid experience. But also a very interesting thing is we can also use the native AWS services. So where do they come in by? So RDS, so there's a service called RDS that AWS offers. That's the database service that they have. So you need a database service for components like app volumes, the event logs in Horizon. You can definitely leverage the RDS for that, for take care of that SQL Server requirement that you have. You can leverage EC or S3 for your backup and archiving of the environment itself, which S3 is their long-term storage. They have Microsoft file share storages, the shares. They have all kinds of fun things that you can leverage. From a load balancing perspective, you have multiple choices here. You have Avi, which is our solution, which is fantastic. You can also leverage their elastic load balancing in AWS if you decide to do so as well. So again, the ability to leverage native AWS services in the environment for the simple reason is you're in that AWS environment and you can leverage those accordingly. So From a feature and function perspective, we do support everything that you would support on-prem. So that includes instant clones, of course, app volumes, user environment manager. Again, all those components are definitely the same as they would be on-prem, so there's no difference there. The other difference with the Horizon environment, the AWS environment, is you can actually, again, grow on demand. So it's called Elastic Load Balance, or I'm sorry, Elastic DRS, wrong Elastic. And that will allow your environment to grow dynamically depending what your requirements are. And by the way, it'll also shrink your environment dynamically depending what your requirements are. So again, it's that ability, because you're in the cloud, to leverage those cloud economics that you wouldn't be able to do on-prem. So we're going to stop here for a sec. I just want to flip over to what the actual SDDC looks like. Of course, it's going to make me log into it. We're going to log in here. So this is what you would normally get with VMware Cloud Services as a new customer. So we would log into VMware Cloud and AWS. Here are all the other services, by the way, that we offer. There's a whole bunch of them. But we would click on this. As far as the actual build process itself to get up and running, it takes about a little over 90 minutes. So we click on our Create SDC. Again, this is software-defined data center. We're going to go ahead and we're going to click on AWS. We're going to choose a location, and this is what I was talking about earlier. So if you do have a new office or location you need to choose, you can go ahead and do so. In this case, you're going to choose US West. So I'm in New York. I want an Oregon data center set up for me for Horizon. I'll go ahead and do that. I can set up either single or multiple. We're going to stay with single just so VMware stays happy with me. And we're going to call this Scott Test because I'm super creative today. This is where you would see our hosts. One important thing to understand about a one host installation on AWS is it's only good for 30 days and you cannot expand it. So there's some limitations here. I shouldn't say you can't expand it. That might have changed, but right now, so this is definitely expiring in 30 days. These hosts are fairly large. So you're looking at 36 cores, about 0.5 terabyte of RAM and 10 terabytes of storage per actual host that you choose. From a desktop perspective, that we've literally seen almost 100 desktops per host in some cases, depending what you're doing. Of course, mileage does vary, but you're looking at a very, very large host size. And today, the smallest cluster is 3 nodes. And stay tuned because that's going to change a little bit too. But you can increase the number or decrease it here as well. Once you do this, you click on Next. If you want to use the AWS services, you would click here. We're going to leave that there for now. You put in your IP information for your actual management block. In this case, we're going to use a default. We click Next. You would say, yes, I really want to do this, and then go ahead and deploy. Now, I don't have rights to do that, so it's going to actually fail. It did. But what it would do is it would start the process, and it would literally take about 90 minutes to create that one node. If you chose 4 nodes, 8 nodes, 12 nodes, again, you're still looking at that 90-minute window, believe it or not. So again, you can build an entire vSphere environment in VMware Cloud and AWS within a matter of hours. So pretty exciting stuff. So Horizon Service, we talked a little bit about the universal broker. Again, I think this is probably the most exciting thing going forward. The ability to manage all your clouds and have the one place for the user to connect to get to their desktops, regardless of where they are. It really is super exciting. It does not require GSLBs, which are global load balancers. When network connectivity is actually taken care of by us, it's multi-cloud, multi-cloud supported. Again, if you are looking at doing a hybrid cloud solution, we're the only ones that can do that. It works really, really well. So here's some of the other things here. Endpoint remote experience. So we're leveraging everything you would see in Horizon, we're leveraging here as well. So that's Blast Extreme. That's our Horizon client. So if you are familiar with that, you get all the features and functions that you get today, and also our HTML5 client as well. Desktop options, non-persistent or persistent. Again, instant clones are supported. persistent instant clones, non-persistent instant clones, or persistent machines. They're all supported. RDS is supported. Fantastic solution there. One-stop shop for cloud services. And what I mean by that is what we talked about with the cloud plane, app management, application layering, dynamic environment manager for those profiles. So if you are running profiles on-prem and in the cloud, you can actually have those replicated and have the same profiles in both. That brokering architecture, and then again, a little bit more with user environment manager here. So pretty exciting stuff. Here's some links here that really goes through some of the use cases here, some solution briefs. There's also a great site that you can go to that has all that, and I'll show you that in a second. But when we have a test drive, which is actually, again, a place to kick the tires for all our solutions as well. But definitely a great thing to do there. So we're going to open it up for questions. But before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about CDW. So CDW is one of our premier partners. They are one of the best partners we have for end user computing, hands down. Definitely, you made the right choice there. If you have any questions or need anything, they're a fantastic resource to go to. So make sure you do reach out to them. They're definitely going to help you out with your needs. And the awesome thing is, because they are a great partner, if they do need support from us, again, they're one of our premier partners, and they definitely have an edge there as well. So leverage them and definitely take advantage of what you have. So open up for questions.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. So right now, I don't see any questions in the chat. I'm wondering if anyone has been saving them up for the end, or I'm not sure if we can unmute if people want to ask questions. If you want to raise your hand, you just give a minute here. Anyone have anything they want to ask?
White group.
Oh, sounds like we cannot unmute either. I just didn't realize that wasn't an option. So, oh. Okay. It looks like I don't see anyone putting their hands up here. So, Scott, thank you. I really appreciate that talk. The level of detail you went in there, very helpful. Again, I just want to thank everyone for hopping on the call today. As Scott said, please reach out if you've got any questions or want any follow up. We can go. We can have someone go a lot deeper with you, or look at your use cases, see if this is a good fit, and for your end user computing needs. I think with that, we'll bring this to an end. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.